We're going to introduce a primer to the BEIS whole house retrofit project that's currently running in Nottingham. I'm Jon Moorhouse from Constructive Thinking Architects, and I'm leading the design and coordination team on the project. And my colleague presenting with me today is Rebecca Hart, who is the Energy Project Manager from Nottingham City Homes. In this presentation, we'll introduce the basis of the project and its targets, talk about some of the project specifics, the approaches that we're taking for this project, which is certainly something that's new to us, the way we're managing teamwork and procurement, the parallel approach integration, and our basic solutions, a view on ND retrofit, and then some of the outcomes to date. There are two parts to the Nottingham element of the whole house retrofit project. The first part is an energy sprung project. Nottingham City Homes were the first provider, I think, to deliver energy sprung. And energy sprung takes the view of a contractor responding to a series of predefined standards and delivering and guaranteeing a scheme that delivers that performance. The destination zero element is completely different. It works within the provider's own maintenance and delivery capability, and brings in bespoke suppliers and subcontractors to deliver elements of the scheme. In doing so, we're able to work with existing maintenance programs and deliver retrofits over quite a long period of time. The aim for this part of the project is to retrofit around about 100 1930s brick properties. And our targets for this are to align with Nottingham's 2028 net carbon zero target and BEIS's own requirements for a heating load of less than or equal to 50 kilowatt hours per metre squared per year. Obviously, we're delivering this with the UK 2050 targets in mind as well. The project set in Bakersfield and Mapley in Nottingham, and our first challenge was to delineate the archetypes found within this area. We've identified 6 typologies, all of which require a slightly different palette of details. This provides a variety of challenges. And to add to this, while we are only dealing with tenanted properties, there's a mixture of tenanted and owner-occupied properties in the area, quite often in adjoined buildings. The project is part BEIS funded. One of the key aims is to show a cost reduction by the end of the project. The idea being that the cost will come down for wider rollout by savings made through revised design, through better delivery, and through cost reduction produced by scale. The project has started now. It's a fast track project that really should be finished by December 21. That's for monitoring, with works finished by March 2021. We've already finished the pre-installation monitoring, and we've got 2 work schemes going. This deals with the Destination Zero 96 brick properties. The 2028 carbon targets for Nottingham suggest that we need to achieve net carbon zero for retrofit properties. But we also need to consider the environmental delivery and the impact on the tenant. In trying to deal with the scale up, we're looking at a high degree of offsite, and we're using a principle that we're developing called ND Retrofit, which we'll come to a little later on. The team consists of Nottingham City Homes' own energy department, Constructive Thinking Architects, Ventive, who are providing a one-stop M&E package, Qbot and Mauer, who are producing off-site insulation. One of the key technologies that we're introducing to this project is Mauer off-site brick-matched insulation. These are half and whole elevational panels that are factory made to measure and brought and craned in on site to a pre-prepared surface. Another technology we're using is Qbot spray foam insulation, which is robot applied in tight underfloor spaces. Another technology we're employing and testing on 20 of the homes is Ventive's energy system, which comes in a plug-and-play box. This system contains a heat pump and battery storage and a tank, and will link to the new PV on the roof.
Thank you, John, and hi everyone. It's great to be here. Thanks for the opportunity for sharing some of the good stuff that we're doing in Nottingham. So I'm going to talk a bit about the whole house retrofit project, and starting with offsite manufacturing. So I think the benefits of offsite manufacturing are widely known. The challenge is, how can you go from small scale installations to delivering at higher volume and ensure quality and cost reduction? So we're currently focusing on the 3 areas. We started working with Mauer, the external wall insulation manufacturer, the earliest opportunity, and this was necessary to highlight some of the challenges around the archetypal variances we have in Nottingham. I wanted to ensure that the product looked as good on the wall as it did when it left the factory, so establishing and managing expectation was a priority for me. Understanding how the offsite technology and its limitations translate to site helped lead to the early conversations with the architects and ensured a survey methodology was adopted to ensure that, in part, any detail that may need adjusting was captured at the right time, so something could be done about it before we got to the installation stage. Standardising the approach to the installation definitely is a good approach. Mauer use a multi-skilled team of varying levels of competency, so it's generally a 4-person team with a team leader who's experienced with the installation of the system. The work package consists of approximately 5 to 7 consecutive working days, depending on the level of enabling works, and each element of the installation has been subject to a time in motion exercise, thus easing programming and reducing defects through the standardised installation process. Minimising disruption to tenants, always pretty high on our agenda. Learnings from the projects have taught us that unnecessary disruption impacts on customer satisfaction, which in turn hinders access and impacts on programme delivery. This is one of the reasons why we have introduced a Homes Work programme document. It's a document that each contractor completes ahead of the programme that details exactly what happens on each day in the property, and it helps manage the customer's expectations and holds the contractor accountable if they don't complete within the time frame. It's really important to us that we add value to the contract and increase the socio-economic impact, and we can do that through job creation. So I'm going to talk to you a little bit about our in-house employability programme, some of the challenges we're facing, and the future opportunities we have. So we want to support our tenants back into work. We want our tenants to be able to afford to pay the rent, and one of the ways that we can help them do that is through our Nottingham City Homes employability programme. As Mauer are based in Blackburn, they haven't got as easy access to local labour, so it makes sense that NCH support them with the recruitment process for this project. We have pre-selected 14 candidates and intend to support this cohort with the quality training programme in order to meet the labour capacity for the project. We're also trialling the underfloor insulation system developed by Qbot as part of the project. So as with Mauer, we have an agreement in place with both suppliers that they will provide training to our DLO so that we can deliver both elements in-house for the wider rollout programme. One of the objectives of the project is to develop an insourcing proposal, and it's the intention that when we're recruited and finished or working towards the end of the project, we'll TUPE the new recruits across to the NCH Direct Labour organisation so that we can deliver future properties beyond whole house retrofit. One of the challenges is that it's not a small piece of work, which makes things trickier when you're needing to quickly train and mobilise a workforce, especially if, like NCH, you have a heavily unionised workforce. I'm not saying that in a negative way. I love my union, but it can mean that processes are somewhat drawn out due to consultation processes. So we need to ensure that in terms of taking on new recruits at this early stage, that the contract terms and conditions are aligned with that of the current workforce, and that we have all the information well in advance to support the transition. For example, the rollout of the Future programme consists of around 4,000 solid wall properties to deep retrofit. So not only do we need to start the engagement process for the TUPE in about 10 months' time, we also need to secure the budget and have a delivery programme in place to ensure business continuity. The successful delivery of this project gets us to a position to upscale. It also presents an opportunity for Marwa to set up a local factory in Nottingham and recruit more local resource. Secondly, we're making sure that we are fully armed and furnished with the details of the upcoming capital programme, and we need to understand what's in the pipeline. This is actually absolutely key if we're going to achieve a no regrets pathway. We're working closely with our colleagues in asset management to ensure that we don't carry out any abortive works or install scaffolding more than once. This slide is an example of the roofing work scheduled and associated works for the next 5 years, which will pull into the whole house retrofit delivery programme. I'm unsure whether you can see, but window lintels, for example, are an item on there. So, obviously it's key to install these prior to the external wall panels going on. Equally, it goes without saying that any roof works need to be carried out prior to the PV panels being installed. Probably one of the most challenging aspects of the project long term is we don't know how technologies are going to develop. However, we can rely on the detailed archetypal surveys as a template for future delivery in order to align resource and successfully manage future deep retrofit streams of work. We can't currently, justify ripping out brand new kitchens to install solid floor insulation, but what we can do is complete the works when the kitchen is due to be replaced in 15 years' time. However, where possible, whilst we're doing this project, we'll endeavour to install any infrastructure, so ductwork or access points, as part of the measures we're installing to facilitate future deep retrofit works. All of the various elements need to be mapped out as part of the property profiling exercise to enable the DLO colleagues to plan resource, which will ultimately lead to reduced costs and less disruption for our tenants.
The key fabric solution is the Mauer insulation system. This shows one of the Clifton projects where a whole facade is being lifted into place. The target for aesthetics on these properties is to produce a solution that looks as good as new build and will have longevity in maintenance and appearance. One of the outcomes we predict from this work will be to lift the mean temperature in the properties from around about 15-16 degrees in winter to 21-22 degrees for a reduction in energy usage. In doing so, we also aim to regulate the relative humidity. The prediction in this graph shows the spikes in relative humidity in the winter against the green graph, which suggests that we can regulate this to a more acceptable rate. A starting point for us is to take a point cloud scan. We do this inside and outside the property, and this in effect gives us a jig from which to design the insulation. Our insulation panel modelling is a shrink to fit approach where we have a library of panel parts that we stretch over the point cloud. These are then ready to drive the factory process. We then develop a retrofit approach for each archetype, and this becomes the basis for costing and project planning. And we use our three-dimensional model to live test thermal bridging as we increase and decrease thicknesses of insulation, positions of windows, insulation around eaves and so on. Drawings are then generated from each model and used as production drawings for delivery. Bear in mind that these drawings may be used over a number of years as the delivery unfolds. Because our modelling has a fourth dimension, each package can be separated out, recorded, checked off, and delivered in an incremental way. Our ND approach to retrofit takes the three-dimensional building forensic model and adds the fourth dimension of time, whereby we can deliver retrofit incrementally in a specific order. A fifth dimension then accords with the resident's needs and takes into account the potential for void properties, and a sixth dimension ensures that the retrofit fits in with existing and predicted maintenance programs. The seventh dimension, which is what we're currently involved in, is to build an ethical supply chain that uses local labour and production where possible. The key outcome from the project will be a detailed stock appraisal whereby we really identify typologies and we develop a transferable retrofit strategy. We will achieve better than 50 kilowatts per metre squared per annum across the stock, and we'll find a sweet spot for that delivery where we understand where money is better spent on renewables than fabric. We'll also develop an incremental delivery strategy that works with the properties and has retrofit elements delivered in the right order.